Hello and welcome back to Book Nerd TV. Today we're discussing 4 short story collections by African American or African descended authors. I've selected these short story collections in anticipation of and in celebration of the upcoming Black History Month, which happens February 1st to this year February 29th in the United States. You may be well aware that I am a fan of short stories, and I thought that this would be a great time to celebrate and to introduce probably to some of you short story collections that you may not have heard of before. The first short story collection is The Future Has a Past by J. California Cooper. I've read quite a few stories in this collection, and I think I've discussed before how I won't necessarily go through from the beginning to the end of a short story collection. I'll just kind of hop around and pick stories or pick titles that seem to appeal to me at the moment, and I'll read them. And that's what I've done with this book. I haven't finished all of the stories in this collection, but I most certainly will. Miss Cooper is a wonderful writer, and she's also very good with her short story form. I enjoy the stories that she tells. She gives us so much information, sets up such a wonderful world for the story to take place. So if you enjoy contemporary fiction about just everyday people, then I believe The Future Has a Past by J. California Cooper will be more than a perfect book for you. Next up is How Long Till Black Future Month. So both of these titles have future in them, but How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin. This entire collection of short stories by N.K. Jemisin I know is going to be amazing. Now, again, I have already read, I think there are 2 short stories that I have either already read or listened to, via either LeVar Burton or some other short story podcast. And I'm so very excited to read some of the other short stories contained within this volume. So excited. And I am also going to buddy read this short story collection with Shannon at That's So Poe for the month of February. Next up is a book of African folklore and folktales, and it is called African Folktales, selected and edited by Roger D. Abrams. This book was originally published in 1983, so that's been quite a long time ago. I remember 1983. Anyway, Dr. Abrams, or possibly Professor Abrams, I should say, at the time of the publication of this book, was a folklorist and sort of like a storyteller, to include African folktales, African stories. Abrams was also a past president of the American Folklore Society. So telling stories, being the griot, if you will, was an avenue that he pursued in the telling of various and sundry folktales, folklore of African peoples. So no, it's not the same old Brothers Grimm story tales. It's not Greek mythology, but it is something that I feel will enrich my life for sure. And it may enrich yours as well. So check it out if you're interested. And again, you can check this book out of the library, because if I can check it out of my library, I am fairly confident that they have a copy of it in yours. So that way you get to patronize your local library. And we're all about that. Last but not least is Voices from the Other Side. This is a collection of suspense and horror, or thriller, I guess, stories by various and sundry authors. It's edited by Brandon Massey. This book was published in 2006, which may be in around the time that I got this book. I'm kind of maybe embarrassed to say. I feel like I may have read at least 1 or 2 of these stories before squirrel going off to something else and never kind of coming back to this collection. But I do want to try to at least read some of the stories contained herein, although you have to remember I am not a very big fan of horror at all. Not regular horror, body horror, zombie horror. I don't know what other kind of horror that there can be. The most horror I can handle is Stephen King, and not even sort of the older Stephen King anymore. Some of his more recent stuff isn't to me quite as horror laden. Is that a thing? Is that a word? Horror laden? as some of his other stuff. So, like I said, maybe a couple of these stories may find their way to being read by me in the daytime. Well, actually in the morning before 12, so that I won't, have nightmares about them at night. I rarely do, but you're always worried that you might, right? So, so if horror, suspense, thrillers are kind of your thing, and you want to read some of these stories told by African American, African descendant authors, then this one might be a very good book to try. And I will say that this is, I think, the second, and I believe I'm right, Dark Dreams was the first of this particular little duology. There may have been others, but again, as I said, I never really picked this one back up. So that's some research if you're interested in finding out if there were further editions of this collection. Then that's something that you absolutely could do. I may do it myself, not because I'm going to read any of these or very many of them, but just for my edification, really. There you have it, these 4 short story collections that I'm going to dip in and out of during the month of February in celebration of Black History Month. Of course, these will not be the only books that I'm reading during February, because I'm actually participating in the BookTube Prize nonfiction division. So I've got 2 books that I've got arriving tomorrow that I'm going to start reading tomorrow. Again, I'm doing a buddy read with How Long Till Black Future Month. I feel like I'm still reading Medical Apartheid. See, this is what I get for using natural light. I've got a huge cloud right over the sun right now, but neither here nor there. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit like, leave a comment, and if you enjoy the content altogether, subscribe. And remember, even on cloudy days, there's always time to read. Bye-bye.